welcome again to Ideas at Work and Beyond, formerly known as the Marty Heiser Show, but it might go back to the Marty Heiser Show, or it might go to Ideas at Work and Beyond. It's all very complicated, but it's all being handled in a high-rise business office building down in Manhattan, where great heads are coming together. They've looked at Conan, they've looked at the Hannity Show. They're trying to figure out a whole identity. There are publicists involved. It's way above my pay grade, but for today, we're Ideas at Work and Beyond, and we got the rockets going off, we got guys climbing on wings of airplane, and then we got the car jumping over the house and crashing. And to me, that captures the essence of this show, because you really never know what you're going to get. And tonight,
let's remake the Haitian guy though on the horse.
I think the Haitian Statue of Liberty it needs a little explanation. Very big in Haiti. If you were in Haiti, you'd know exactly who that guy was. He's the George Washington of Haiti. I'm not particularly up to speed on that. So we've got a lot of different openings, but you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a potpourri of different ideas and ideas at work and public events and current events and things that are going on. Today, I want to just start with a little roundtable discussion, and just to throw the meat out on the table, I have three things: the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, I want to start with the good. You know, sometimes when I think of America and I think, wow, you know, some people are saying we're in decline. Some people are saying our country's best days might be behind us. Then you have someone like Staff Sergeant Gunta. This guy is a real mensch. This guy is defending our freedoms in the mountains of Afghanistan, and he received the highest military honor that a country can bestow upon a person. He is the only living recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor from our involvement in Afghanistan and Iraq. And this is his picture right here. Staff Sergeant Gunta. He's originally from a small town in Iowa. His unit was up in the mountains of Afghanistan, and they were on a patrol, and they were ambushed. It was pitch black. Some of you that watch 60 Minutes will know the story or have seen otherwise. It was pitch black, and they were ambushed by Taliban fighters. One of the members of his team was separated, and some of the Taliban had been bragging about how they want to get a trophy. They want to get an American soldier. And this young man and other members of his unit went and rescued one of his fallen comrades that had fallen into the hands of the Taliban. He had to run across the battlefield, gun blazing. He shot one of the Talibans, grabbed his injured comrade, and dragged him back to safety, and also dragged back another one. As a result of what he did, he was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, and that is the salute for the evening. That young man, it reestablishes my faith in the American youth and the bravery and the courage that we see reflected in our military. So that's the good. Now we're going to go to the bad. You know, there's sometimes when you talk about terrorism and what some of these terrorists are involved with, I have sort of a visual memory. And there's some visual stuff that goes on, like when the Taliban took acid and sprayed it in the face of little girls in Afghanistan that deigned to want to go out and go to school without a complete burqa, I guess, in an effort to stop them. When the Muslim terrorists took over that schoolhouse in Russia and put claymore mines in the basketball hoops and just slaughtered innocent children. And this terrorist right here was involved in the bombings in Africa, and I read up on these bombings, and it was interesting because the first thing that the terrorists would do was they would let off a little bomb, a small bomb that would just make a loud noise, and then all the people from the building would come over to the glass windows and look out to see what was happening, and then boom, they let off the big explosion. And that's what happened to two of our embassies in Africa. And this individual, due to the Attorney General of the President administration, who thought it would be a great idea to try these guys in civilian courts in downtown Manhattan, of all places, on 176 counts, he gets off. He walks on 275 of these. He's only convicted of one count, which is damaging federal property. So you run your car into a mailbox and you can get the same thing that this guy did when he was responsible for thousands of people being injured. And oh, by the way, all those people that came over the window to see what happened, many of them ended up blinded. It's not enough that there was something over 200 people that died in that attack. But he walks because of this current administration's desire to have these terrorist trials tried in civilian courts. You remember the old newsreel footage of the Nuremberg trials after World War II, where they rounded off the godless Nazis and one by one they were convicted? It seemed to work pretty good, that military tribunal. The Nuremberg trials have worked just fine. We should be trying these terrorists for acts of war, and they should be tried in a military tribunal. We got one right out at Gitmo. It'll be fine. We haul them into civilian courts, and they have all kinds of different rights and everything else, and we have a potential of this happening again. And that's what they want to do on the other one. The good, the guy that won the Congressional Medal of Honor, we salute you and we thank you for your service. The bad, that terrorist that all but walked out of a courtroom in downtown Manhattan. And then the ugly. I was reading, I have a small painting company, and we buy health insurance for some of our employees. And we found that our health insurance costs have gone up $5,000. But I found that the Obama administration was giving waivers on the health care, although we were told when we passed Obamacare that health care costs were going to go down, that we were going to save trillions of dollars off the deficit. Well, those of us that voted against that and were against it, and many of those politicians that now are out in the private sector looking for other jobs because they voted against the consent of the governed, it comes to pass that the unfunded mandates as dictated by the new federal health care law is resulting in health care costs skyrocketing. But I come to find out that there are 110 different companies that have applied for and received waivers. So what I'm going to do on this program is I'm going to write a letter to Dear President Obama. Please consider giving my painting company a waiver from the requirements of your new health care law. I was going to say ill-conceived, but we're trying to get something out of the government. So we're going to send this off to President Obama, and we're going to see, and I'll report back if I hear anything after I mail in this letter and see if there's any waivers forthcoming. Anyways, those are just my random set of thoughts. We're going to have a roundtable discussion now, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm joined by David Straight, financial analyst extraordinaire, all-around wonderful guy, and Al Robinson, who by the way, have you come down from your incredible electoral successes a few weeks ago, or was this just par for the course?
I would say, like most people right now, we're not even thinking about politics.
Politics are
it's completely irrelevant, especially when Thanksgiving is next week.
All right. Well, that was what we were going to talk about, is Thanksgiving and what we're thankful for, but there's just so much going on. You know, I drive around in my car and I hear about this terrorist almost getting off. I see a 60 Minutes, this program about the guy with the Congressional Medal of Honor, and I don't know, there's just a lot to talk about. Okay. But given this Thanksgiving season, what are you thankful for?
Well, I'm thankful for my daughter turning 4 today.
Oh, congratulations!
You know, that's always a great thing. Mm-hmm. Thankful that everybody's healthy, and basically that's just about it. As long as I'm doing okay, everything's fine. Do you have anything special that you do on Thanksgiving? Is there any special kind of food? Do you go to Grandma's house? Do you run in any I pull out my special sweatpants so I can like stretch them, so I can let the stomach expand.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And just eat my head off, and then when this is all over, I just watch a little football and call it a day.
And why is it that the Detroit Lions always play on Thanksgiving? What is up with that? Because it's very boring football.
It's probably the worst team in football.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why. I have no idea. Either you get like you get the Giants, or maybe you get the Lions,
or Dallas.
Right. You know, and who wants to see Dallas after last week? That was pretty rough.
Well, Dallas actually, it was surprising that they beat the New York Giants.
I think the only thing that happened that was good in that game is that the lights went off. For the Giants.
That was good. But Dave. Are you in the same boat as me? I mean, we're supposed to be upbeat and happy. We're on the verge of Thanksgiving.
I'm the most optimistic person I know. I'm eternally optimistic.
Okay. You're optimistic, but the first photograph you bring in and the discussion you want to have, if there are children, you want to have them out of the room for this next photograph, because the glee in this guy's, well, you just want children out of the room, and even young adults. I don't know if you can handle this. But you brought this photograph.
Oh, my.
And maybe, I mean, you took the time to have this printed up. And is there something you'd like to share with our vast audience?
Well, okay, so anytime, well, this is what's interesting, is that air traffic is back up to the...
No, children, leave the room. Sorry, go ahead.
Air traffic is actually back up to the pre-crisis levels of 2007, and that really surprises me, because when you look at the type of security that people are being subjected to right now, anybody that doesn't go through the full-body scanner gets this. And you have male... TSA
do they have
agents.
to, like, cough or anything when this is happening?
They do have to turn their head, yeah.
Turn your head and cough. Okay.
Well, it always makes me nervous when I see the gloves on anyway, so it's just not a good thing.
Things about bad memory.
Yeah, but I mean, you have male TSA agents that are patting down women and fondling their breasts, and it's just completely out of control. And actually, each airport in every major city can determine whether they want to have TSA agents or an independent contractor responsible for their security. And the second largest airport in Orlando has decided that they're going to go with an independent security firm, because the TSA has just gotten simply out of control. Interestingly enough, on the news over the past couple days, people have been saying, well, what are the options? And El Al has a pretty good track record of preventing hijacking.
Right. Israeli airline.
Last hijacking, 1968.
Right.
A few years back, there was an Egyptian bomb threat. But plain and simply, they start by profiling. And the second someone says profiling in America, everybody goes nuts. Well, you know what? If someone's last name is Muhammad, I'm a little bit more uncomfortable there. I mean, the Muslims have a history of suicide bombing. No other group of people has a history of suicide bombing. So why should you not at least have do some type of profiling based on someone's potential background?
All right, I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because in America, we don't judge a man by the color of his skin or his nationality or anything like that. And there are millions and millions of law-abiding Muslims that, if we follow what you're saying, would be unfairly treated in a profiling scenario. Let me just take the opposite side of that for a moment.
Or I can say, you go even further, that as an African American, police will look at you in a certain way because they think you have a certain characteristic. And that's actually unfair. I mean, we live in a country where we don't we don't believe in certain things like that. And again, as you said, there's millions and millions and millions of Muslims who don't do that type of stuff. And, the last time I checked, before 9/11, the biggest terrorist event on our soil didn't happen with a Muslim. Although after that event happened in Oklahoma City, they went after Muslims immediately until they found out it was a white guy from Michigan. I mean, we should not be doing stuff like that. We're better than that as a people.
So 99% of all suicide bombers are 18 to 35-year-old Muslims.
Males.
Yeah. So you don't think that extra care should be spent evaluating those people?
Again, I think we are a better country than that. We should not racially profile people. I don't think there's any evidence that would suggest to support the notion that racial profiling will lead to us being safer.
It's not.
I think it's actually the opposite.
Okay, but it's not. I'm not advocating racial profiling.
Obviously you are. That's exactly what you were saying. You said Muslims, and that's a certain race. Again, it's just like if you go into the inner city and you look for a certain skin color, you think he has drugs on him because he's a certain skin color. It's exactly the same way. There's no difference between those. Well, I mean, if there is, you can please explain it to me.
Yeah, I see a difference. I mean, I don't think it's racial profiling. I think it's profiling. If a person if 99% of all the bombers are 18 to 35 white males, you know what? It seems to me I'd take extra care in screening those people at the airport. If I see a 98-year-old woman in a wheelchair that can't walk, you know what? I'm not going to spend as much time investigating that person. I'm certainly not going to do this to a 98-year-old guy in a wheelchair, right? So, I mean, a certain amount of reason should be applied to this. But anyway.
If you follow the Israelis, I think what they call it is psychological profiling. and they actually do a lot with body language and the way people act.
Right.
Because the fact of the matter is, where you say, yeah, there's a certain different characteristics of terrorists. Like you say, 99% are Muslim males between the ages of whatever
18 and 35.
18 and 35. But at the same time, the Israelis, who have been dealing with this for a lot longer than we have, will do what they call psychological profiling. They'll know where the person's coming from. They'll know how he paid for his ticket. They'll know if it's a one-way ticket.
Right.
Like the guy that was a failed underwear bomber in Detroit, he had a one-way ticket to the United States, paid with cash. I mean, all sorts of bells and whistles should be going off. A lot of these people are on no-fly lists, but they still are able to fly. So I think we do a better job on psychological profiling. But all this thing that's going on where they're patting down, if you've seen the videos of little children that they're patting down and everything else, I don't know.
Let's go beyond this for a second here. I think we're missing the real point here. Is you can do all this, what I consider racial profiling. I mean, you can call it whatever you want to, but again, there's other things that terrorist groups are doing here that are not being picked up under the radar that people have been complaining about for many years in this country, such as you recall, there was a printer toner that was shipped, and it had explosives in it. It went through all the screening checks because most of the time you don't check cargo.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think we should be thinking about stuff like this. We should think about the stuff that comes through our ports and our areas that are not being screened properly, because if there's another terrorist attack, it's probably going to come by those type of means where there's gaps in our security system.
Yeah.
You know, we should be focusing on that much more than patting down grandma or these scans, which I think are evasive, if not insulting to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, especially and supposedly they're not keeping a file of the scans, and then it turns out that scans from 2 years ago are showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't have as huge a problem with this whole anonymous scanning thing. I think it's kind of like futuristic and at some level sort of cool. You go in there, they scan it around, they can like check on stuff and fine. I'm a little less concerned.
It's a pretty good blast of radiation, though, no?
Well, my understanding is that it's a pretty limited amount of radiation, and you'd have to stand in that scanner for like 3 days straight to get enough radiation to have it affect you. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is a price you got to pay to have safe travel.
Look, we're men. I mean, I feel I'm more concerned for females. You've seen the way they're being patted down, in their chest area and things like that. Not every TSA agent is a uptight, #1 citizen around. I mean, these things again, I just think are just. We're going a little too far in certain areas where most likely terrorists are not going to be. The next terrorist attack is not going to be a guy coming through with a bomb going through there.
Well,
he's going to have some luggage.
Exactly
he's going to put stuff in a printer toner and have it timed.
Well,
and
we had 9/11, and now they solidified the cockpits, and they checked for cutters or tweezers or anything like that. We had the shoe bomber. Now you got to take your shoes off every time you go anywhere in the airport, and you got to get them scanned. You had those liquid things that they were coming out of Heathrow, and now you got to measure it all and put it in a plastic thing. And now we got the underwear bomber, and this is the result. They're going to check your shorts for it. It does seem like we're reacting and not being proactive, but I'll tell you one thing. When we do got the terrorists and we end up trying them in federal court like we're doing with this guy, and they walk on all but walk. I mean, it wasn't the 276 murders that as a result of this, but it was damaging federal property that they got them on. When we have that type of reaction to terrorism on a holistic view, I'm a little bit concerned for our safety. But come on, guys, this is supposed to be Thanksgiving. We're supposed to be happy and thankful. Give me something to be thankful for.
Well, I'm kind of wondering if this is why air traffic is up so much. I don't know.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Okay, so what are we thankful for?
Yeah.
I think we all have a lot to be thankful for. We live in a great country.
We do.
We've got a God that loves us and takes care of us, and I think we've got all have wonderful families and great friends. I wake up every day and I think I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah. All right, now back to the bad stuff. What about Charlie Rangel?
What do you think of the Charlie Rangel deal?
Enough with the happiness.
Back to the business.
It is what it is. He's going to be censored, and that's basically going to be about it. What more can you beat out of
Why?
him?
Throw him out of office.
Well, you can't throw somebody out of office who's been voted in by the people who he represents in his district. That's what the people want. That's what they get. He gets censored. Look, he's not the first person who's done anything like this. If you want to go through a whole list of Republicans, I can take up the whole show. Again, it just seems like we're going back to the D versus R nonsense, and I think it's just silly nonsense. We all knew this was going to come down. He did it now because we're in a lame duck session, and he did it before the Republicans take over, so it wouldn't be more of a hit job on the guy.
Now,
he'll be censored, and it is what it is.
What I don't understand is if I don't pay taxes, I go to jail. He didn't pay taxes on his villa in the Dominican Republic for 17 years. He has 11 counts against him that he's found guilty on. And lo and behold, Trafficant, who was a Republican, he got nailed for 2 counts of tax evasion, gets kicked out of office, goes to jail. I don't know why this guy's still in office. I'd throw him out tomorrow.
Well, see if you can do that.
Well,
check it out.
I'd love to.
Again, I don't know. I don't know.
It was a squeaker, though, wasn't it?
Well, again,
he barely won re-election.
Again,
I don't know. 80-20 or something like that.
From Harlem. Look, I don't know all the details in the case. I don't know all the nuances and everything, so I can't give a accurate account of everything that went on with this. But again, it is what it is. If here's the deal: put out a poll and see how many people are even paying attention to that subject. I don't know. I think people are more concerned about having a job and making sure there's a roof over their head. I'm not to say that this thing is not serious or anything, but again, I just don't know enough about it to give an opinion about it. I don't know all the details in it, but
it is
what it is.
The New York Post with the title "Crook."
The New York Post.
So you're discounting the New York Post.
Come on.
So now, would you say the same thing about Fox News? Would you discount Fox News?
What do you think?
I think you would, but I think you shouldn't.
Look.
Did you see the ratings from election night?
I can care less about ratings.
What were they?
The Fox News beat
swept.
It was like what are the other ones? MSNBC and CNN. Add those two together, and Fox News' audience still doubled it. My point is that they're a force to be reckoned with.
They're a force to be reckoned with.
I know.
It's supposed to be a news organization. Now they're a force.
Well,
do we see where we're getting at here?
No. I think news organizations have influence. I'll just say, I can just tell from your facial expressions. Because when I say the New York Post, you roll your eyes. Well, they called him a crook because it's the New York Post. And then you say, well, it's Fox News, and you kind of roll your eyes.
And then I'll say if it's the New York Times, you roll your eyes. Or the Hartford Courant, you'll roll your eyes.
No, I won't. I listen to what the New York Times has to say.
Gotcha.
No, I do. I think they're actually, pretty accurate on stuff and things like that. But I certainly don't discount them. And it seems a little bit on the left that you tend to discount these. Did you see Saturday Night Live?
No.
Out there, they had a little an interview or a mock interview with Barack Obama, and they were asking questions, and they said, well, Glenn Beck said such and such.
Oh, my
And the guy and Barack Obama, who's playing the character, says, well, Glenn Beck is a fool. He's on Fox News. You shouldn't pay any attention to him. And then Saturday Night Live goes, well, he was right on the gold thing. The gold went up in price. And this is Saturday Night Live. Those are your peeps. Those are, Tina Fey and the girls, that kind of come at things from, that perspective.
I guess. I don't know. Look, here's the thing. Let me just give you a reminder. A couple of weeks ago, we had an election.
Yeah.
You lost.
In Connecticut.
In Connecticut.
Everywhere else, it was a
it depends.
Except for California.
Well, it depends.
Boxer won.
I don't think Alaska went pretty well. I don't think Christine O'Donnell went pretty well. I think Harry Reid won. I can go through a few other races. I think right now, if you want to talk about politics, you want to talk about things of that nature, as a current chairman of the Board of Finance, that's something I'm concerned with right now, because now is the budget time. Now the budgets are coming up, and you talk about hurting economic times, state funding not coming into the municipalities, possibility of layoffs. If you want to talk about national things, that's fine.
Okay.
But when you talk about the cutting of education in this area, that's going to happen. Possible layoffs on the city level, that probably will happen. The real impact of this economy is really going to hit the municipalities over the next 4 to 5 months when these budgets start to come out. And then you won't be talking about this stuff. You're going to be talking about the local level.
Let me just say one thing. On that note, I see it as all intertwined. Because when you have a national government, that what's today's date? Like the 18th of November. We've got 5 weeks until the next calendar year, and we don't know what our tax structure is going to be?
Yeah.
You don't think that puts a drag on businesses and hiring practices and everything else? So it isn't like what they're off doing in Washington doesn't really matter. We got to worry about potholes here in Danbury. It's all intertwined.
No, of course it's all intertwined, but I'm just saying that if you can talk about the national level as much as you want, I would look at the state level and see what those people in the state are doing. I'd be very concerned about what Dan Malloy is doing, what the OPM offices are doing up there in Connecticut, what type of numbers you're getting from the state level, because it's going to impact your local property taxes. It's going to be a real pinch in a lot of areas.
Two things here to Al's point. You're right. The state budgets are going to be a real crunch. In fact, this week we got a little bit of a shock wave in the municipal bond rates, where we had the biggest jump in municipal bond yields that we've had in 3 or 4 years. And that could be just a profit taking, could be a correction, could be just noise, but it could also be the market saying, there's a wake-up call for the states that, listen, you're not going to have access to an unlimited supply of super cheap money, which also brings me to another point. These Build America bonds. We started talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
These Build America bonds. The states are using these Build America bonds to finance their operating budgets. Well, these Build America bonds are 35 to 40% of the yield or the dividend that is being paid on those is being paid by the federal government. It's a massive bailout. It's just all smoke and mirrors. It's just shuffling the cards again, and nobody really is following where the money trail is coming from, and the numbers are getting just silly numbers. So. The states are it's going to be a real crunch. Meredith Whitney was on this past week, and her comment was that we're going to see massive defaults at the state level.
We have a $3.5 billion problem going into the next budget cycle. I mean, that's a serious thing you have to take a look at. And I know I talk about this a lot on this show, a lot about education, but that's really close and dear to my heart. ECS funding is going to drop from municipalities on a drastic level.
Just tell them what ECS money is.
Basically,
educational cost
sharing.
Sharing.
All right. That basically, when it comes, ECS is basically the state's portion of the funding for education. And
but just to give our audience a spectrum, what percentage of the Bridgeport Board of Ed budget comes from the state?
I don't know. I don't know about.
If I said 90%, would you think that would be about right?
90% from ECS funding?
Yes, from the state, from Hartford.
Again, I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
I can look it up, but I don't really know.
Okay, for discussion purposes, somewhere in the 80-90% range. Do you know how much the Ridgefield Board of Ed budget is subsidized by the state? If I was to tell you 2%? 2%
ECS?
2%. 2. So what we have in education funding in the state is a massive redistribution of wealth.
Yeah, look, a lot of funding goes towards the big cities, and the towns get a lot less. It's always been like that, and that's definitely a problem.
70% or 70 cents out of every tax dollar that's collected in the town of Ridgefield goes towards education funding.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It's this huge amount of money, and in the state, in Hartford. And some of these people that control the levers, they take the money from all the communities and they fund it down to, some of the different cities.
Yeah.
And
look, it's going to be a huge problem. I mean, the tax revenues are going down. ECS funding is going to go down, and once it goes down, that means there's certain municipalities, such as Danbury, it's going to be paying a lot more. Something's going to have to give, either layoffs or taxes are going to have to increase because the revenue's not coming in. You're not getting the revenue from the state, and as you know, education takes up 50 to 55% of your total municipal budget.
Ridgefield, 70%. But let me propose something to you. My concept, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is the idea of baking a bigger pie. So the idea right now is we work, I think in Connecticut, it's until April 27th to pay all our state, federal, and local taxes. It's the longest tax freedom day of any other state in the union. So your idea is if there's going to be a shortfall, let's just tax people more and more and more. But when you have unemployment going up and you have an economy that's anemic, you can tax, but there's only so much blood you can get from a rock. And as a matter of fact, sometimes it has a reverse effect where you tax so much that all economic activity slows down to a screeching halt.
Well,
the other side of the coin is baking a bigger pie. And the example I use the most is Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. Revenues to the government, and that's what you're after. You want cash going to Hartford, you want cash going to Washington, D.C. Revenues to the government went up as your tax rate went down. Now, why did that happen? Because when taxes go down and regulations go down, the private sector, where this money comes from, booms. And if you let it boom, the revenue that you want so badly for Hartford to pay for all this stuff will come if you get off the back of the private sector.
Again, look, you're looking at, I'm talking about short term right now. This budget that you're going to be, that you'll be dealing with in Ridgefield is going to hurt next year and the year after that and probably the year after that. The next 3 to 4 budgets are going to hurt. And I'm not necessarily saying like you got to increase taxes, but I'm saying you're very limited right now currently on your options. Either you're going to increase taxes, which, you know, I don't know if you can do that, or you're going to have to lay off people. You're going to have to shut down full-time. You had full-time kindergarten in Ridgefield last year. I mean, I don't know how that's going to operate. I don't know how that's going to work. You know?
Yeah,
you know.
I know. $700,000, they figure that's what it costs.
Yeah.
Kindergarten.
Well,
Okay.
you know, you mentioned...
Don't you like children? Don't you want to have full-time kindergarten?
I put it to you like this. If the people wanted that, you say, hey, look, we're going to increase tax because this is what you called for. You know, or else you got to get rid of it.
I didn't know you're anti-kids.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just saying.
Are you against small children?
Hey, I'm for quality education. And in Danbury, for instance, Concan came out with their report cards on all the schools. Danbury High School got a big giant F in student performance in terms of the achievement gap, overall performance, and everything. Do you know how much money we're giving the students to the education system in Danbury? And we're getting Fs at the Danbury High School. I think they're ranked number 127 out of 164 high schools in the state.
That's a good data point. What's at the core of that, you think? I mean, why do you think that is?
Well, it isn't like we should be throwing more money at this. Right. You know, that's definitely not the problem. I think it needs to. I think the whole entire system needs to be addressed. You know, I think we got some serious problems with the Board of Ed. I've been to plenty of those meetings. I'm like, I can't believe you people. I can't believe some of the members of the Board of Ed. You know, there's some serious issues that need to be addressed. We're giving a lot of money towards this, and for all this money, we want to see something in return. And we're not getting the stuff in return, so why we keep dumping money here towards it?
But
something's got to give.
What do you think is the core? I mean, do you think that part of the problem is the parents?
I think it's a combination of several factors. Again, I'm not truly qualified. You know, you have to really examine this stuff. It's not very fair just to go in and just say, hey, yeah, it's the parents' fault, it's the teacher's fault, it's this or that. But obviously we have a problem. If you're dumping a lot of money towards this problem, fix the problem.
To your point on the shortfall at the state level in Connecticut, $3.5 billion. You know, when you put that in perspective, in some ways it doesn't seem like a lot of money because the U.S. Post Office was announced that they're $8.5 billion in the hole for the last 12 months. U.S. Post Office, $8.5 billion. Another well-run pseudo-government organization. But no, $3.5 billion is still a lot of money.
And then on top of that, Governor-elect Malloy is talking about using gap principles. And once you apply gap principles in it, that $3.5 billion, which I talked to Tom Foley about this a few months ago. I said, you know, if you institute gap immediately, that 3.5 is going to be like 5, because between that 3.5 there's a lot of smoke and mirrors to get that thing at 3.5. So we have a serious problem right here in this state right now that people need to start looking at and take this seriously, because there's going to be a real major impact on a state level. And that's what I'm more interested in, because your taxes, especially for a homeowner, whew, it's going up big time. And when it comes to taxes, your property taxes, that's the major thing that's going to hurt you. It's not the federal stuff. It's the stuff that really affects you on a local level. Right. You know, if you own a $200,000 home or a $250,000 home, you're paying a certain amount of money in property taxes, and that can go up real quick based upon what your local government is doing or not doing properly, including your state government.
Well, again, I just don't see going back to the well and raising taxes on the residents of Connecticut as the way to long-term fiscal responsibility and growth. I just don't see it. Look at Texas. Texas doesn't have a state income tax, and yet that state is booming. businesses are itching to get into that state. Something like 150 large businesses have left California specifically and gone directly to Texas. Why? Because it has a favorable business climate and environment. It has low labor costs. It has low regulations. It has low taxations, and it's booming. It's doing fine, except for the Dallas Cowboys. Other than that, the state is doing well. That's what I think we need to have in Connecticut. Yet what's so unsettling is this most recent election, we elected a governor, which compared to the two, I would say that Foley was probably more pro-business, pro-private sector. Malloy was probably more pro-organized labor. And that's what makes me fearful for the future of Connecticut, because for whatever reason, in the enlightened self-interest of the voters, they've decided they want to go with the liberal state.
And again, we'll see how it all works out. I mean, in terms of the state income tax, a Republican instituted the state income tax. We had several Republican governors, including John Rowland, said he'll get rid of the state income tax. He never actually did it. And, you know, so we'll see.
And it was a Republican that put the state income tax in.
Mr. Weicker. So we'll see what happens.
He was another Republican from Greenwich, right?
Yeah.
Foley was a Republican from Greenwich. Maybe we dodged a bullet. Who knows? But he was right here on our set. Remember when he came in and took his shirt off? That was something.
Pulled up in the Maserati?
Pulled up in a Maserati.
Gave us one of those.
Half naked right here on this set. Too bad we're Now, because it's Thanksgiving, one thing I'm thankful for is a trip I took with my son. And since we're adding Cablevision and all you guys down there, we want to share this footage of a trip that I took with my son, and it was pretty wild. We're up on some pretty wild mountains at the Matterhorn in Zermatt, Switzerland. So let's watch this, and we'll see you next week on, it's either Ideas of Work Beyond or Marty Heiser, or we may have a different opening. You never know what you're going to get with this show. We'll see you next week. Hope you enjoy the footage. We're here in the upper reaches of the Swiss Alps with our intrepid guide, Willie. Today is day one of our Zermatt adventure. The goal, the final destination, is the Matterhorn, which you can see rising out of the clouds. But today, we learn. Willie will show us how to rock climb on these walls, and if we pass the test, and we're able to do it, possibly Thursday, we're going to be climbing the Matterhorn. I'm here with my son Jason, who thinks this whole thing is a big kind of a joke. But we're very excited about this, so stay tuned to Ideas of Work and Beyond as we go on our quest. See you soon. We're here at the base of the Riffelhorn, outside of Zermatt, Switzerland. That peak, that dark peak, is the Monte Rosa. That's the tallest peak in Switzerland. Today is day one, and we're just getting roped in by our new best friend in the world
for today.
Today is Willie, and Willie will
middle, last,
show us how
if you don't mind. Okay.
to get up that cliff, which is essentially just practice for what we'll hopefully be doing later. It is absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous up here, and we're taking you along on the adventure from the safety of the couch in your warm home in suburban Connecticut. Stay tuned. So we're on the Riffelhorn.
Ciao, ciao.
It's a little scary.
Okay, one mistake. Good. Off you go. And you see that little piece of metal or that rail there?
Down into the abyss. Yeah, the morning, hey, this should be fun, has given way to, wow, this is kind of dangerous. Jason, any thoughts so far? We're halfway up the Riffelhorn.
Getting our money's worth.
Definitely getting our money's worth. That's our guide. And we got to follow him up that cliff. Sure is beautiful. You can see the glaciers that come down and leave those rocks, just like in the valleys of Connecticut. And part of me would really like to be back in Connecticut right now. Okay, boys and girls, here we are at the top of the Rifle Horn. It's kind of a good news, bad news scenario. Good news, we're at the top of the Rifle Horn. Rifle Horn. Bad news, we're still in the shadow of the mighty Matterhorn. We'll keep moving. Stay tuned. Okay, we're here with Jonas. He's also at the top of the Rifle Horn. Rifle Horn. Jesus Christ. And you're from...
Stop, we have to start again.
Okay.
Rifle Horn.
Rifle Horn.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Okay. We'll start again. Rifle Horn.
Yeah.
Rifle Horn. So you came from...
Norway.
Norway?
Oslo.
Oslo, Norway. You've been here since 1979. You come skiing every year. And this is Rudolph, your guide.
Yeah.
And Rudolph took you to the top of the Matterhorn.
Yes.
And Rudolph, how was this Norwegian? Was he hard? Did you have to carry him the last half?
He's stronger than me, so we're a good team.
Okay. The key to all these trips is to have a guide like Willie, who knows how to do it. He doesn't baby you. He keeps you moving. And then when he gets to the top of this thing, he has a Marlboro, which is a little unnerving. But this is the fun part when you made it to the top, and we'll keep going. Stay tuned.
Okay, there is Dad going down the mountain, going to a fixed rope, and there's about a
Too much on you?
90% chance he can't pull himself up. And he's gone. So I'll get the Willie.
When I see something, that would
Yeah, we got bored, so we look at the Matterhorn.
So that's the same feeling as you would have in a Matterhorn.
That's where we're going, apparently.
And watch always a bit down there. You see what your legs are doing.
We get the board, so we videotape me. Of course, in the sun. And
Well, here we are up in the Swiss Alps. This is day one. I'll tell you, ideas of working beyond. This was definitely an idea, but I'll tell you, it's scary. I'm not going to let my guide know or my son know, but this stuff is scary. Here comes my son. I think an escalator would be easier. Zermatt is a beautiful town. See beautiful flowers. And as always, the Matterhorn looms over. We're on the main street of Zermatt. It's a very festive place. It's absolutely beautiful. See all the flower window boxes. This is the Zermatt Hof, one of the great big hotels in Zermatt. The Matterhorn is right around the corner. And this is the plaque to Edward Whymper, the first man to summit the Matterhorn in 1865. He went up, there was a party of 7, and 4 perished on the way down, adding to the mystique of the Matterhorn. Prior to 1865, they thought the Matterhorn could never be climbed, but this man on his 14th time climbed it. We're going to look at a museum that has the rope that broke that sent 4 of his party to their death. That's Edward Whymper, the first man to climb the Matterhorn. Stay tuned. We're eating lunch. We have the Brighthorn tomorrow. It's going to be fun. For the trip here, we're staying in a youth hostel. It's kind of bare minimum, about all you need. This is our room. We were a little surprised when our 2 roommates included a fine young man and I believe his wife. So it's a bit cozy. What you gotta love about it is shutters at work and a view of the Matterhorn. We're just getting back to our room from climbing the Riftshorn.
You're horrible.
And need to recover. That was pretty scary. And especially climbing up those cliffs were a bit
on which mountain?
Unnerving. So we'll get back to you.
What is it called?
The Rifle Horn.
The Rifle Horn.
Rifle Horn. It was great.
Idiot.
Good morning. It's day 3. Today we conquered the Brighthorn. It's another day to get acclimated to the altitude. Good night's rest. They have great bread here. And as usual, in its many different faces, the Matterhorn looms. All right, we'll see you at the top, or at least on the way. Well, we're about 12,000 feet up on the Brighthorn. This is climb number 2 in preparation for the Matterhorn. We've introduced a new element to the climb, and that is snow. It's about maybe, I would say, 25 degrees in the shade, probably about 30 degrees in the sun. Again, it's a breathtaking vista. And our new best friend in the world is Johnny.
No, thank you very much.
Johnny is our guide. You can see how he's putting on the crampons, which we'll get ready to do. And here we are. Ideas are working beyond. We go places. We see things. Stay tuned. We're on our way up. That's the type of climbing we've been doing. Look over some.
That's pretty nuts.
Here we are on the top ridge of the Brighthorn. These razor ridges take some getting used to. Stay tuned. We're here with Jonathan. We're in the saddle of the Brighthorn. Jonathan, if you were going to give me an A, B, or C on my performance, what would you say?
Well, how I said, you know, climbing the Matterhorn for tomorrow, you are not in a good shape. You will be difficult. Yeah. So anyway, you can try tomorrow with a guide, and it's important to listen to the guide. As soon the guide he says, well, it's enough. Well, it will be anyway. It will be nice experience. May you are lucky that you arrive until halfway. Maybe so I have it's a nice experience. And then if the guide he says it's too much, then you advice, because he takes care about your life. That's very important, because on the way down, it's on the way down and then after.
Jonathan, my the Riffelhorn. He said my body looked a little bit like a bag of French fries from McDonald's. Is that what you mean by I'm not in good enough shape?
I can't I can't discuss. But you are not like French fries, not at all.
No.
No, that has nothing to do with that.
Think maybe like some sort of V, shape.
No. But I will tell. I'm the responsible here from the guide office.
Oh, okay.
And I will blame that guy.
No. Listen, the truth hurts, and it's okay.
You are a good alpinist, but you have to understand, in the mountain everything goes step by step. Please, if it doesn't work tomorrow, go with a good experience back to the stage, and please come back. I give you my card, and then maybe next time you have.
Thank you very much. It's very scary, especially on the razor edge.
Yeah.
1,500 meters on each side. I liked it now that I'm on. Jason, his body is like one French fries, not a whole bag of French fries. All right, thank you very much. Well, we just got off the Brighthorn. That was very, very frightening. We were on a ridge that you can't believe. One misstep, one slip of the boot as a result of snow, and you just. I mean, I suppose the rope would catch you, but still, it would be. It's very frightening, very frightening. So one guy thinks we're ready for the Matterhorn, the next one thinks maybe not. We're going to try. It's going to start this afternoon. We hike up to the Matterhorn Huta. We meet our guide, Benedict, and his associate. Spend the night in the Huta, get up at 3 in the morning, put on a headlamp, and then we'll try and see. By the way, part of the charm of Zermatt is that there are no cars. No cars are allowed in the whole town. So it lends to an unbelievably quiet, small town. The bakeries are great. The beer isn't bad. And it's definitely worth coming and visiting. I hope you guys enjoy this kind of adventure travel. What Marty did on his summer vacation. It's exciting. Fact of the matter is, I've got a Thursday to fill every week. So when I went here into Belize, it seemed like, why not bring you guys along? Tomorrow morning, here we are at the Matterhorn Huta. This is the building over here. And you meet your guide. We're gonna sit down to a meal of porridge, some sort of cabbage. Come this way.
No. Gosh.
And in the morning, somewhere around 3 in the morning, someone's gonna tap us on the shoulder, put on headlamps, and that's the final frontier. The air up here is very thin. Coming up from where we came up this last bit, just getting to the Huta was quite a hike. Now, we're going to eat dinner. They have some pretty strict rules here. It's 150 Swiss francs, which isn't cheap. That's about $150. But they do give you a nice pair of Crocs. So you take your mountain climbing boots off, and you get these Crocs. I'm pretty sure you got to return them. Okay. Anyways, this is the sleeping arrangements. Basically, you get assigned a part of a bed. 1, 2, 3, and there you have it. I don't mean to be, closed-minded, but it is co-ed. Well, it's 4 in the morning. It's full moon out. People are wandering around in their headlamps. Getting ready to begin the ascent in the dark. There's a full moon silhouetting the Matterhorn. Down in the valley, you can see the little town of Zermatt. This is it.
Yeah.
Well, here I am, somewhere on the Matterhorn. Yesterday, a helicopter came up and took a dead body off this mountain. My guide, who's been up on the top 200 times,
Yeah.
says I got to turn back around. So, I don't want to be the second guy pulled off this rock. I gave him my best shot. I got to turn back. I will say my 20-year-old son did pass me going up, so let's hope that he made it to the summit. Sorry I couldn't do any more. We're on our way down this somewhat treacherous pile of rock. Here we are, the beautiful Pomerant.
Look at the summit.
Pomerant. That was the goal. And we returned back. But I'm here with Benedict. Benedict, we were just talking about the Matterhorn and what a dangerous mountain it is. We were saying that on a bad year, how many people will die on this mountain?
Yeah, between 12 and 20.
12 and 20.
We have the average.
And there was a guy from Austria, was it?
Yesterday there was a German who died.
German, wow. And how long have you been doing this for?
23 years now.
And how many times have you been to the summit?
Over 200.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I wish I had a view like this from my office. So we still have a ways to go to get down. And I'm glad you have me on that lifeline, so we're not number 2 for today. Thank you. There it is. This is one of those tight little ridges. You can kind of choose your